Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Welcome back. I think we are also having online audiences as well, so welcome to join us for this fireside chat. So we hear about fireside chat, right? Wonder what that is. We don't have a fireplace, so you can imagine a fireplace, snow outside, then hot chocolate lah, but we got water. So fireside chat is really just a casual conversation among friends. So we'll be chatting with one another, and later you'll get a chance to participate as well. So this is totally unrehearsed, unscripted. So we will be probably stumbling along a little bit, so bear with us if we, make some mistakes and all that. But before this session, right, what I've briefed our team is that just feel free to chat. Feel free to also disagree with one another and interject as well, so you hear really a group of friends chatting about a topic. So we just completed a sermon series on the fruit of the Spirit. And in one of the sermon, Pastor Brian quoted somebody, right? And he said that meekness may get you to heaven, but can't get you a promotion. So I wonder whether that's true or not. So let me read this verse, this famous verse that we've been looking at for the last couple of months, right? But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such, there is no law. So how do we then live out the fruit of the Spirit in our workplace? Like, I love my job. I'm joyful when my boss gave me a big bonus. I'm long-suffering towards my customer because I want him to sign a contract. I'm gentle to my boss secretary because I need to secure an appointment for my boss. And then I exercise self-control at the pantry so that I don't overeat the snack overdrink coffee. Is that fruit of the Spirit at the workplace? Probably not, right? This is a terrible negative explanation about how we live out the fruit of the Spirit in the workplace. So you don't hear from me, right? You hear from our panel about how they live out the fruit of the Spirit in the workplace. So our group of friends here don't need a lot of introduction, but when we meet in church, sometimes we don't hear about how their career is like, how their job is like. And I've been with Siu Fong and Seichun in the CG for a number of years. I've heard their sharing in the CG. Chena has been participating in a marketplace study together with me for a while. So I've also heard about his experiences at work, and therefore I've gathered this group so that we can share some of our experiences with all of us. And some of you may know their career progression and career path. And I can assure you that this is a group of high-powered executives in the workplace. But today, right, we are not coming as credential, like, I'm this senior executive and I speak with all of us about this. But we come as humble servant of the Lord and to share with you our journey at the workplace. I understand that it's not all rosy and all that. We have our own challenges as well as we live out our Christian walk in the workplace. So maybe let me first start with the first question. So maybe first question is Seichun. Seichun has been a senior executive in the financial service in finance, having worked in banks. He's a treasurer, and he handles amount of money, right, that you probably cannot imagine. So yeah. And he's been with very, very large companies, international companies in the treasury area. So maybe the first question, think back about your career. Did you face any specific challenges, situations that you were reminded to exhibit a particular character of the fruit of the Spirit in the workplace?
Okay, thank you, Kwai, and glad to see all of you. I want to thank God, first of all, because He has been very kind and gracious to me that all my years, 36 years of career I spent 13 years in the bank and then the balance in corporates has been challenging, but very fulfilling. Very early in my life, in my working life, God impressed upon me that unless you exhibit Christ's character in your workplace, you will have missed a lot of portion of life not doing His work. Because we spend between 8 to 10 hours every day in the work. And if you cannot show God's character and God's mission in the workplace, then you have missed out a majority part of your life. So it impressed upon me very early in life, and I wanted to be a blessing to others. I want to be able to be the platform where Christ can be exhibited. To answer that question specifically, yes, the fruit of Spirit is not something that I possess every single day and very consistently one fruit. It comes at different time, different circumstances require different fruit, and I don't exhibit that, for example, gentleness or meekness or faithfulness or goodness every time. But I have a few incidents in my life that I'd like to share that, especially one incident back in 2011. I just joined this company called Bungie, American MNCs, 6 months. And in an email correspondence between the commercial head and myself, we went to dispute because I disagree with his strategy. I felt that another department was disadvantaged by his action. So I wrote it down, I put down the numbers, and I sent it to my boss, with the CFO, and his boss, and said that what you're saying is wrong. And unfortunately, he was the most profitable guy in the company. And so he said, "Are you calling me a cheat?" And then he sent out to the rest of the world, to New York, everybody. So suddenly, everybody was dragged in, and the CEO then said, "Okay, we must have a meeting to sort this out." So then I couldn't sleep that night because the morning 8 a.m. meeting. I prepared myself very well. I go through the arguments. I put my facts right. If you shoot left, I'll hit right. So I got myself all prepared. Then at 7:50, I prayed to God. I said, "God, I need your wisdom. I need you to tell me how I should proceed." And the Holy Spirit just said, "Don't say a word." I said, "What? We are going to a fight and then you're telling me not to say a word?" That's my illogical thinking. But it was very strong. He said, "Don't say a single word." So I was very troubled. How can I defend myself if I don't say a single thing? And he said, "Just be gentle. Be humble. Don't say a word." So we went to the meeting, right? And then he blasted out. He said, "Look, either you go or I go. There's no two option because since you call me a cheat, somebody has to be wrong." And I wanted to fight back. I wanted very much to fight back, but I kept quiet. I did not say a word for half an hour while he berated me, and there was 2 other senior people there beside my CEO. And after that, the CEO just blasted. He said, to tell the guy, "Grow up, man. This is the company." And then, cut the whole story short, because I obeyed, I emerged from the situation gaining respect of my CEO and make the accuser look childish and revengeful and the party at fault. God, in His wisdom, I can tell you I'm not a gentle person, right, at work. Aggressive, but at that point in time, God says, the fruit of the Spirit, gentleness will get you through. And that point, when I stayed silent, and my CEO came out and defended for me. All right? And because he's the most profitable guy, my CEO also dare not offend him. So he says, "Okay, let's do everything on the covered, let's move on." But that incident showed me that when the Spirit prompts me, then the fruit of the Spirit, and when you obey, the outcome is tremendous.
Yep. Thank you, Sechun. So I moved to Siu Fong then. Siu Fong is probably the most blessed among all of us. She get to retire after more than 30 years in the banking industry, 26 years in HSBC with various positions. So I guess similar with what Sechun, right? You must have encountered similar kind of situations at work. So maybe you can also share about the same thing,
Thank you, Guai. Yes, 30 over years in banking, lots of challenges, lots of satisfying years where I was given a lot of opportunity by the bank, definitely. And in all, I thank God for that. His faithfulness have definitely seen me through. And there are certain core values that I held in navigating my career. One is to God, that is faithfulness and the spirit of the fear of the Spirit, okay? The other one is to my co-workers, that is respect, exercise certain level of self-control, and kindness and patience, so depending on the situation. So God has been really good to me. I think I've shared in the CG that, who am I? I'm a kampong girl, you all know that, from Malaysia, right? That I have received so much blessing. His grace, His mercy, His favor is something I can't imagine. What have I done or not done? I often ask. But yes, I am blessed. So in the course of my career, for sure, there were many challenges where we were put to challenge, to exercise fruits of the Spirit, yes. I have examples of work-related examples in the workplace and non-work-related and also happen in the workplace. So I thought about it. I decided to share the non-work related but happen in the workplace. No helicopter size, small issues, but I think something we all can relate to. That will help us in how we navigate in the office as well. So the example I have in hand is, we all know Chinese New Year is a big thing in Singapore, right? Lunar New Year. And every Chinese New Year, there is a big Toto draw, you all know, right? And also, some companies will invite the lion dance back to the office. So every year, someone in the office will pull together money to buy the Toto ticket with the hope that they all strike, then there's no need to turn up the next day. It's very familiar. Everyone can relate to that, I think. The other one is a lion dance. So someone will send an email to say they put a mandarin orange on your table, on your desk or cubicle, and plus an ang pao. So the lion dance troupe will come around your desk to bless your table with the hope that you get a promotion that year or receive a fatter bonus. And they will also give you, with the mandarin orange, the 4D number. Hopefully you again don't need to turn up at work the next day. So sounds really familiar. So in the secular world out there, right? So what do you do in a situation like this? So you want to be in the crowd with people, right? So I have learned that over the years, from year one, I have to make it right with people. So I'll say, no, decline kindly. There's no need to judge someone, but you yourself make your stand clear. So I've done that. So after 1 year, 2 years, third year, they stop approaching you. Then when you move to a new department, again, that happened. So this a little thing, there's no helicopter size, okay? So this is something where I have exercised the self-control and temptation over there, because what happened, they really got the first prize and only left me in the office alone the following day, right? So, but of course, everybody turned up in the office always the following day. So, things like this. I have work-related example, but if you like, I can share with you separately over coffee, but because I will have to go into a lot of details to give you the background for that.
Yeah, okay.
Good.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
So workplace is not just a formal meeting, but it's also, workplace relationships and other, casual activities as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because there
okay.
are opportunities for us to show fruits of the Spirit, because people will look at you, especially if you're in leadership position, because people look at you, how you conduct yourself, how you behave, how you react, and how you make decisions.
Yeah, okay. So we are always under kind of a spotlight
Yes, we are,
Okay,
definitely.
cool. Thanks. So from Toto to 4D, right? I want to talk to someone who is from the investment experience, from the insurance industry, actuarial science, which is very rare, right? You've been in the insurance industry for quite a while. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, just by coincidence, right? Maybe it's God's appointment that all three of you are from the financial services industry. Not intentional, yeah. But maybe Chin Han, maybe you can share with us a similar kind of work experience through your career.
Yeah, sure. I'm relatively less experienced than the two panelists here. So I share a little bit maybe earlier in my education how I actually came to this actuarial science. So I would say that during my secondary school study, I had not known this actuarial science in my life. It's only the last year when almost like there's no more option for me. And I was like, oh, because I'm a science stream student. I'm very fancy about going to biology, chemistry, but I'm born in a year that is very competitive. A lot of babies born that year, extremely competitive. So just cannot get into the subject that I want. So I kind of like stuck here, not there, don't know do what. Then among my friends, someone is actually studying the actual science, and they said, hey, tell me more about what's this. So I said, okay, it's math related, and then a bit of science behind. And I said, okay, let's try on, right? So then that's how I embarked the journey, and I even went to the US to study for 2 years actuarial science and get my certification, and also work in Singapore. Then I think the spirit, the fruit of the spirit that is actually throughout my career, I would say it's very personal. I think God is a very personal God, and it's also very the way I train me to be faithful to God, because at every different point in time, God speaks to you in a different way and will demand you for different things. An example is one of my career switch where I was in a very, very good company with a much greater scope than what I'm doing now. But we come to more responsibility as well. It was a stressful period. My boss is getting a lot of pressure from his boss, and indirectly I also get the pressure. Right, so it was not easy, but I kind of think of maybe I should be resilient. I should stay. I should do a lot of things, right? So to prove myself. But I think through many instances, and God has been consistent, and then I hear this voice that I need to leave. I need to leave this place, right? So it's not good for me for long term, etc. Then, but what's next? Then I was like, oh, I also don't know what to find. Then I look around. I saw this job. Actually, this job I wanted to apply a while ago, but it somehow didn't come to my attention. Then I said, okay, no worry. Let's go and reach out to the HR and see what's available. And the HR told me, oh, it's already at the late stage and they are finalizing. Then I said, okay, no chance already. Let's move on and let's find another job. Who's know that 1 to 2 weeks later, the HR called me, are you still interested? Because the candidate decided not to take the offer. So I went through the interview. It was, I think, one of the smoothest interviews in my life. Not much question, and people were happy with me, with experience, and I got the job. With a narrow scope of responsibility, but greater pay, less stress, and I found that God actually put me in a different perspective and different environment, and want me to do different things. So and ask me to continue to be faithful in Him and trust Him in my career.
Okay, cool. So we saw through all our sharing how God has intervened or reminded us in certain circumstances to do things that maybe not so natural, or God guided you on a path, led you through this, and in circumstances that took you to a job that He has prepared for you. But even as I look myself, right, I see similar things with Sechun. My default thing, right, in a lot of my meeting is attack first. If I see something wrong in a meeting, right, I don't care who you are, I attack. So that's my kind of default one. And a lot of time, God has to hold me back and it's like, stop. Don't do this. I remember circumstances where I keep attacking until that guy had to cry and leave the meeting, which is quite embarrassing for me. And thinking back, it's like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So maybe any of you share some of those experiences that after a fact, right, then God reminded you, like, oh, you shouldn't have, have done that. Anyone?
Okay, let me share. Yes, many times, right? By nature, I'm an aggressive person, and I'm confrontational. That's because I work in MNC's culture. Americans are direct. I work with Europeans. So when I worked with this Japanese company in Sony, the secretary, right, and she followed up on some meetings. As a result, it caused a huge rearrangement. So I went to her, I said, why did you do this? And she said, oh, because I thought this, I thought that. I said, you're not supposed to think. You're supposed to ask questions if you don't know, right? And if you're not sure, you don't just go ahead and make decisions because you're not a decision maker. Your boss is, right? And I'm responsible for him, and you caused me in trouble. And she was afraid. I could see that. But it didn't occur to me that because I was doing the right thing, right? You caused a problem, and now we have to solve your problem. Had you been more careful, we would not be in this situation. And then she cried. Oh, that really threw me off. Because suddenly I don't know what to do. You know, and my wife will know that. If she cries, she wins. So when the secretary cried, and it was in front of the office, everybody was looking. I was at a loss, I don't know what to do, but the Holy Spirit prompted me, apologize to her right there and now. So I sat her down and said, I'm so sorry. And I do it in front of everyone. I said, I'm so sorry that I got ahead of myself, right? And I asked for your forgiveness. You know, that prompting, it was spontaneous, but I was glad that the Holy Spirit prompted me and I obeyed. Because she stopped crying, and then she was still sore at me, but because of that incident, people respected me. They said, okay, you do something wrong, you're willing to apologize, not in private, not put her to one side in the room and lock in, no, but in front. So I realized that, wow, you know, that situation really bring across that how the Holy Spirit will teach you to do things in the most, as long as you're willing to listen, the positive outcome is there. So that was one incident that I can share with
cool.
you.
Anyone else want to chime in?
For me, if I cry at home, it doesn't work. Okay. So sorry. Okay, I feel when at the workplace, okay, when we are being accused, or your department being accused of wrong, okay, the tendency in our own human way to jump into it, to lose control, to scream, to attack, to defend is always there. Our horns will be up. That's where we lose track of, you know, what is the final outcome we're trying to achieve, the corporate objectives you're trying to achieve, because it is my team or your team, your department win, or who get the budget, for example, the kind of thing, you know. Why is it that I'm doing this, not your department? I thought it should be functional-wise, should be yours. So all this will surface. So I have learned that over the course of the year, through years of experience, of course, with some experiment, make some mistakes along the way, that, you know, when I'm angry, I would draft a reply angrily, not to send the click button. I have learned many times, it's very successful, this method. I tuck it at the draft box, keep it for a few hours or sometimes until the next morning, and I pray about it depending on some situation. I will pray about it, and then next morning, a few hours later, when you look at the email again, you redraft, you edit, you change your tone, you change your pitch, with the intent to seek to clarify, to explain, to see how we can achieve the common goal. The outcome is usually really favorable. So the managing the self-control part is so important at the workplace, and it is so effective, I find it. But of course, it takes me many years or so to come to that stage, because I can be moderately aggressive at workplace.
Okay.
I won't
So
say
since
very
we are all kind of the
since,
moderately...
Sejong says very aggressive. I have encountered it, but about crying or staff cry. So for me, I remember one incident with my boss. I was really upset with him because we disagree on a certain point. I was at the verge of breaking down. It was that serious because we just had a disagreement. That was Friday. Monday morning, he was on leave, supposed to go on leave. I received a bouquet of flowers on my table from him.
Okay.
So maybe women's tears, although there was no crying, but he could see tears already in my eyes. Worked.
Yes, it definitely will.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's actually.
All right, all right. You can also come and have a chat about this, but I have a question as well to continue this discussion. What are your thoughts that is there a characteristic of the Holy Spirit that you see that is really needed in the workplace today? I mean, although you have recently, retired, but think back about your recent career, recent encounter. Is there one character of the fruit of the Spirit that you feel is really needed in the workplace, especially with Christians as well, other than the moderate aggression that we talk about? Anyone? Chitan? Or now I guess you're ready already. Can continue. Yeah.
Okay, I can start with, I think being patient is very important, especially in the environment today, because everything is instant, right? So you have social media, like I remember my young kids, and I got her this very, very old Apple MacBook Pro for her, what is that called, the home-based learning.
Yeah.
She's like, why this one not coming out? Wait, come on, this is a 10 years old computer older than you. Right, so a lot of this being patient, because God's timing is very unique. Right? Sometimes you say, why promotion is not me? Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why I'm not a doctor? Why I'm not a lawyer? Right, so we have a lot of this timing issue, but the thing that comfort me is God designed me and has a path for me, right? So He brought me here, and then continue to ensure me that there's a path for me. It's just that sometimes we want to rush into a certain thing and we want it now, right? Just like anyone in the today environment, we want the instant feedback. We do something good, we want the immediate promotion. We want someone to say that we do a good job. But unfortunately, in the today, even virtual environment, we don't see it. Your boss wouldn't. I mean, your boss could send you a text, but in the previous era, then he can actually come and say, "Hey, done a good job. Why not you just leave earlier today because you done such a great thing, right?" So those are missing already, and being patient is like a lot of younger than me today. Then I can see that 1 or 2 years they don't see any movement. They decided, okay, that's not for me. Something better outside, and I just want to get out of this environment. I want to try something new. Probably because that. You didn't wait enough to get the fruits out of what you have put to work.
Mm. Yep. How about any one of you?
For me, most difficult would be self-control too. This is where I think if you're close to God, and when you are in a certain crisis or situation, it's good to turn to God. But of course, in the practical sense, I don't believe I'm someone, every situation run to God. It's only the big one, huge one, that I find it difficult to handle. So self-control is something that easy to say, but when you're out there, it's not easy. But then I shared just now, I realized that, if you exercise self-control, if you have it in you, okay, the outcome usually is more favorable, much more favorable. So if you truly want to achieve that corporate objectives, you have to exercise that self-control. It's difficult, I know.
Yep.
I find it difficult too.
Okay. All right. So patience, self-control. Sejun, you have anything to add?
Okay, when I was in my junior role, first 10 years, I find this question irrelevant. In the sense that, everything you can do, there's no difficulty. But when you go into senior role, when you become management level, executive committee, 2 fruits of the Spirit I find nearly impossible to do. One is kindness, the other one is gentleness or meekness. I will share about meekness or gentleness. I'll give you an example. In 2003, when I was in Sony, I was the GM, and then my boss is a Japanese guy. So, in Japanese company, you can never reach the top because they never allow a non-Japanese to helm that role. So I was in Sony with my boss called Mr. Fujioka. There was a conflict in our relationship because we disagree, and I was being treated very harshly. Japanese face is very important. If you don't agree with him and you're right, then ultimately he looks bad on him. So he began to treat me very harshly. So I decided to have a heart-to-heart talk with him. I said, we shouldn't continue like that. We are too integral part in this. So I talked to him, I poured out my heart. I said, why are you treating me this way? I poured out my emotional turmoil to him. And to my surprise, instead of sympathizing, that a subordinate is coming to you to tell you, oh, no, I find that we cannot carry on like this. You're treating me so harshly, so painful inside. He was spiteful. And he took my action as a sign of weakness. Say, this guy is come crying out to me. And the relationship grew from bad to worse. And his attack became more frequent and bullying. So, I want to stop. I mean, if you want to know about this, invite me for lunch or for dinner and tell you more. But what that taught me, right, back in 2003, was this. I've learned that if you humble yourself and you show weakness to try and reconcile, or it may backfire on you. And the receiving party may view your humility or your meekness or your gentleness as a form of weakness. And will despise you or take advantage of weakness. Because what happened is that this world narrative out there is survival of the fittest. All right? And strength is what you need. You cannot show your weakness. At the senior management level, you have to be aggressive. You have to tell everybody that you're in charge. You cannot show kindness or gentleness because other people will see you're weak and they'll take advantage of you. And they will not hesitate to take advantage of you because at the corporate level, at the corporate top, there's only one position. Everybody is vying for that. And if you're weak, too bad, your boss says, sorry, you're not good enough for that. You're not. And the survival of the fittest is the connotation which is deceiving our mind. For us Christians, survival of the fittest is definitely not the motto. Depending on God is. But unfortunately, we are in there for too long, entrenched in it. We believe in it. Even today, I must fight myself, like what Xiu Feng has said. I must self-control not to be aggressive so that I don't follow the motto of survival of the fittest, or the strong would ride over the weak, and the strong has a right to rule over the weak. That is the motto.
Okay, so, cool. Thanks. And also thank you for all the questions. They can't see, but I can see. Don't worry. I will be moderating the question as well. So feel free to send in all your questions too. Let me take this. Seems the mildly aggression is centered among our topic now, and just Sechun was just talking about meekness, and so we have one question there, right? It's okay. I will read. I have it here with me, so I will direct the questions to all of us. And following on from what Sechun just shared, right? Let me just read that question first. First, apologize. We may not be able to go through all your questions, but continue to send them in. And so the question is, how do you reconcile your nature of being aggressive, your need to be in when your position calls for a certain persona? How do you reconcile that with the meekness in the fruit of the Spirit? And back to that earlier comment that I quoted from Pastor Brian, who quoted someone else, right? Meekness gets you to heaven, but don't get you your promotion. So, anyone? I guess Sechun said already, so maybe back to one of the two of you. Yeah, don't worry, just chime in.
Okay, I can share something quickly. I think, so this is actually part of the marketplace discussion that we have, right? So God designed us and want us to do good, and He put Adam and Eve in the garden and produce fruit, and all these are good in the eye of God, right? So what we do at workplace are supposed to be good as well, right? So that's why we want to produce something that we want to honor God. But a lot of time, what is good definition? I mean, Bible has a good definition. God will personally tell you what is good, what is not good. But being aggressive, sometimes, of course, from a social perspective, is not good because you are being aggressive. But where does the aggressiveness bring you to the result? I think sometimes we have to look at it from a different perspective. I can be good for someone, but he himself or the guy maybe eventually will forever be in that stage. Is it good for him? Or I can be aggressive with him and he can grow and he can produce even better fruits. I think those are the different perspectives. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, it's not because we are aggressive then we are not good already.
Okay.
Also, I think there is no right or wrong whether you're aggressive or meek. You need to know at the workplace the characteristics of your colleagues, okay? And then under what situation can you be aggressive? Can you afford to be aggressive? And would you still have the respect of your team members when you are being aggressive to the point of disrespectful? Or you are aggressive because you have order to achieve, you have objectives, KPI to achieve, so therefore you push your team. But are you disrespecting them? So I think we need to be able to differentiate and identify that.
Sure. Yeah. I also, when we talk about aggression, there are always targets to meet and things to achieve. And there's always a space where we get stretched as well, where we have to do things and achieve things. Even when you look at the life of Jesus, there are times when he has to meet a certain objective. He has to do things in a certain way where if we are to protect certain integrity issue, there are times to stand up and make a stand, for whether it's moral or integrity, and confront and correct. But I think there will be times when we need to be humble to apologize when it calls for an apology, humble to help a person through a certain difficulty. But I always have this incident that I recall at my work. There's this guy that has not been turning up for work on time, always late, everyday call, say, oh, I got family issue and all that. And I see the manager being very kind and gentle. But that behavior persists. And then eventually he leaves, and then he joins another company. I guess he didn't tell his wife that he joined another company. So on the first day in his new company, the wife calls us and say that, sorry, my husband needs urgent leave. And he's not well. It's like very strange, right? You're no longer with us. But I guess if we didn't take time to correct a person's certain behavior that is required at work, that ill discipline will carry on to other areas. And I'm not too sure where he is now, what he's doing, but I think there is a time for correction, there's a time to confront, but there's also a time to be gentle and help someone through. Okay, which comes back to another question here is, what kind of worker will be attractive to the people in the office that will cause them to be interested in God? So not just attractive in the office for promotion's sake, right, and achievement, but also how then can we shine for God in the office? So maybe I rephrase the question a bit first. If you have to give advice to someone in the workplace today about how to live out the fruit of the Spirit, what will be one thing you will want to tell this person? So if you want to advise someone in the workplace, one practical thing to live out the fruit of the Spirit, what would you advise this person?
Is this person a believer?
Believer. Say someone from church and come to you, because we all invited people to kopi already, right? So do invite them for kopi. So if they come and invite you for kopi, right, then please share with me, give me an advice, how do I live out the fruit of the Spirit in the workplace?
Okay, I speak for myself.
Yeah.
So if you think it's good, you can take it. I think I said earlier at the beginning of the session that for me, it would be staying faithful and fearful of the Lord. That is with God. With people, stay respectful at the workplace. So this, when you are a Christian at the workplace, this is a God-given opportunity and power for you to shine for Christ. It is not something to be ashamed of. So that is for me, staying faithful and fearful and be respectful with co-workers. The next thing is make your Christian religion known. While your personal data may be private and confidential, fall under the PDPA Act, okay? But your religion should not be, because it is actually a very powerful testimony for people at the workplace to know that you are a Christian, provided you have walked your Christian walk right, okay? You have done all the right thing, be meek at the right time, aggressive at the right time, or exercise self-control, be respectful, be kind to people. Because when you make your religion known at the workplace, people actually observe you, look at you. The decision that you make on a daily basis, okay, the action and the reaction you take can work in your favor, can be a testimony for Christ, or can stumble someone else, all in your hand as a Christian. So that would be my second advice. The third I have for people would be find a mentor or accountability partner, spiritual mentor. And that allow and empower the person to speak into your life. Be humble, take away your pride, and let the person help you along. Better still, if you yourself are ready, mentor someone. I have done that. You will find that when you are a mentor yourself, you will want to ensure that your life is in check, in the light, in the open. Because when you mentor someone, you know you are also accountable to God, one, also accountable to your mentee. So when you mentor someone, actually you help yourself to grow as well. So that would be my advice.
Okay, thank you. Sejun?
I have one advice, and I learned that early in life. You must not be afraid to pay the price of obedience. What I mean to say is that the Bible taught us to do the right thing, to have integrity, to be honest, to do the right thing, and to not be afraid. Why we are afraid to do the right thing in office and not follow God's principle is very simple. We are afraid that by obeying God, we offend the world, and we lose our chance of promotion, we lose our chance of a career. So the price of obedience is something that you must consider now, and say, I will pay it, despite whatever circumstances. That's what Jesus did. He paid the price of obedience, and regardless of whatever going to happen to him, right, it's not a consequence to consider. If you consider the consequence of obedience, many a times you will shrink from doing the right thing, because the price is very high in this world. The world says that if you're honest, too bad, you get a short end of the stick. So, I give an example, a quick one. There was this, I was very young in my career in the dealing room, and this guy somehow betrayed me, and through our friendship, got to know a female colleague, and he's married, and he had an affair. All right? And I felt that, how come he used me to do that? And the wife doesn't know about it. But we all knew about it. And one day, on a Saturday morning, I was on duty that day, the wife called and said, I want to speak to her husband. And the guy was beside me, Is he in KL? She asked me. I said, no, he's beside me. Then, of course, what happened. Then there was a quarrel. He said, why you do this? I said, look, I'm not going to lie for you. And when you had a quarrel inside the dealing room, until my boss came in and calm us down and separate us. But I was adamant. I said, look, even if I do a second time, I'll do it. So my boss said, no, please do not bring your personal quarrel inside the room. This room is not. I said, this is not personal quarrel. This is simple. This is lying, and I'm not going to lie for him. But then I realized that after that, I was so-called not segregated, but rather, put aside because I didn't cooperate, and my boss was very upset, and I felt maybe my career is over. But no, God is faithful.
What was the question again?
What
Yes.
advice? See, very engrossing.
The story is too
testimony,
too
right?
into it already.
What advice would you give someone?
I think okay, maybe related to one of the question there just now I saw like
Yeah.
should you proclaim your faith at workplace? I think the answer is yes, you should, and you shouldn't hide. Because when you do it intentionally, and you have to live out the example and the behavior with the right character, right? But I mean, in my career, I also saw some bad examples, right? So with some senior management call himself a Christian, but at the same time, people also call him that he doesn't have integrity, and speak that in front of me, and I was reporting to him. So I also don't know how to respond, right? So and I also know that he is a Christian, and so that's why being especially when you are a senior management position and you proclaim that you are Christian, and you really have to be extra careful with all your behavior, all your action, and that's very important, because I mean most of us will eventually one day become senior enough, and what we say people will hear, and they will judge as well. So how do we stand in front of them, and also be able to stand in front of God to say that this decision we made is based on the value God taught us? I think that's very important.
Okay. Early in my career as well, when you talk about aggressive behavior, right? I did have a boss who is aggressive where he can take out his shoe and throw at people. And so that's aggression to a certain limit, right? I guess when we talk about us having to make our stand and being aggressive, it's not about, that kind of aggression where you just scream at people in your meeting, or you throw things and you just vent your anger. But I think there is a place for being assertive. There's a place for standing for your values as well at work, without going through the stage where, take out your shoe and throw if you don't agree with people. Or you just, scream vulgarity at someone once you have a disagreement. I don't think we are talking about aggression in that manner. And when we talk about meekness, I don't think we are talking about meekness like being bullied and, and being accused of things that you didn't do, and yet take it and don't stand up for yourself, and don't correct a misimpression of yourself. But also being honest enough to admit your mistake as well. Sometimes it may seem to cost you a career, or cost you impression that you are weak, but I see from all your sharing that God is in control still, and God's timing sometimes prevail. Not at the exact moment that things turn around, or not at the exact moment that you do that and then you get a bonus or you get a promotion. But looking back at all our career, right, God moves us along in His timing and His own ways. Okay, I know there are still some questions, but I want to wrap up as well. Chenan, you shared about this marketplace study, right? In Canaan, there are already 3 groups of people who have gone through this marketplace study. We do that, I think, once a month, about 1 hour over lunchtime. Maybe you can share something about that.
Sure. Actually, because of the COVID, right? So we meet virtually. So in a way, it's very convenient, right? Yeah. So you just dial into the Zoom. Sometime middle or halfway, you're doing something else, or you're eating lunch as well. So all actually can be done with the blessing of the technology here we have today. So I think the part that I enjoy the most is the conversation like this, and we can hear from different perspectives. Now you just hear a lot from the financial industry, but I always tell Kwai that we should hear someone like from Ben, working in Star and study. Maybe from Kerala as well, doing a different job, that they encounter different challenges, and how do they resolve, and we can learn from each other. Yeah. I think that's the part that is most benefit for me.
Okay, so this is also the time to announce that we want to restart this study. Thank you for the promo. So there will be opportunity for you to hear more about that, and to sign up or express your interest or you can also just put that there and or message Pastor Brian or myself if you are interested to join on one of these studies. So like what Chinan said, it's only an hour over lunchtime. We have another group that is also who met on a weekday evening. It's a very comprehensive study that's spread over, I think, 8 to 10 sessions. So yeah, if you're interested, to let Pastor Brian know or let me know. The other part is also, I think, Sufang talked about mentoring, right? So we also want to initiate that in the workplace, where if you're looking for someone to be an accountability partner or to be a mentor to you in the workplace, to let Pastor Brian and myself know. And the other thing is that this is a fireside chat under the warm spotlight. But we want to continue some of this conversation as well going forward. And if you are any topics that you are interested in, do add that into this Slido Q&A. We will look through and organize other sessions where we invite other people from the non-financial services industry to also share with all of us some of their experiences and challenges in today's marketplace. All right, so thank you very much. We want to thank all three of them. Okay, thank you.